Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Can You Hear Me Now? Using Social Marketing to Drive Conversation. As of this morning, we had about 150 people registered for this webinar, which is a great turnout, and we even have webinar attendees outside the great state of Texas, such as Canada, Washington, Arizona, Colorado, Honolulu, and even a come outside the US of A, such as England. The webinar today is recorded and will be available on our website at www.txsystemofcare.org within the next couple of weeks. On that link, you can also find some of our other previously recorded webinars. For those of you who join our online discussion with the hashtag Can You Hear Me Now? Feel free to post questions for the speakers in the chat pod, and feel free to have a discussion in the chat box. If you have any questions there that aren't answered, I'll make sure to stop the presenters, or we'll also discuss any questions at the end of today's webinar. There will be a link to the post survey at the end of today's webinar, so please complete. Don't forget to complete the survey, especially if you are needing the CEU certificate. At the end of the webinar, we'll keep the room open for a short while for any questions or any other assistance that may be needed. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Tori Yu, who is our communications lead for the Texas System of Care, who will introduce today's amazing speakers. Thank you all so much and enjoy the webinar.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Good morning. We have some awesome speakers here today. We're going to be talking about social marketing, the steps, how to incorporate it into your organization, and different strategies and tools that y'all can use. One of our first speakers is Kate Barkin. She is the social marketer for the Mental Health Connection in Tarrant County. I want to point out that the plan that she will be going through today just won an ECHO Award at the Georgetown Institute. It won a Gold Award for strategic planning, and she'll go through the step-by-step process today. We also are going to have Liz Moskowitz from Texans Care for Children. She is the Outreach and Online Communication Coordinator. She'll be going over some online media presence and tools that you can use. We also have Marcia Rodriguez. She is the Special Projects Director for Tropical Behavioral Health in the Lower Valley. She's going to be talking about how to make social marketing feasible for your organization. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into a poll question. We'd like to know, what is your organization's level of social marketing expertise? If everyone can vote in that window. All right. I think we're probably ready to, looks like the vote's stalling, so we can probably broadcast those results there. It looks like most of y'all have beginning social marketing expertise. That's great. This is a good webinar to get your feet and figure out what it is best for your organization. So, I'm going to start with an overview of what social marketing is. Some of the issues that people have is social media is often confused for social marketing. That's often because the word social is used in both, but they're similar. However, they're not the same. Social marketing differs from other areas of marketing only with respect to the objectives of the marketer and his or her organization. It seeks to influence social behaviors, not to benefit the marketer, but to benefit the target and the general society. So what does that mean? Social marketing's primary focus is social good. It creates marketing concepts to influence behaviors. And it's separate from commercial marketing in that we're not trying to sell a product. We're trying to promote an idea or influence a behavior. Media, on the other hand, it's a social interaction in a virtual network. So something like Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Twitter, And you have to sign up to be a part of it. Social marketing can reach you whether to be a part of a platform. Why are we doing this? What is the value of social marketing? It addresses social issues. It meets a social need. One of the big things that support and awareness to encourage social change, and one of the examples I like to use is the anti-tobacco campaigns. It's something that we're all familiar with. We probably can't pinpoint who started that campaign. However, it's so well known, and there's a community behind that. There's a community that works to improve that messaging. It also builds public trust. It encourages engagement and conversation. So I'm going to turn it over to Kay Barkin. She is going to go over the planning steps for the Recognized Trauma campaign that recently won the ECHO Award.
Good morning. And I want to clarify, because the winner for the plan may actually hear, that's not the category we won in, but thank you, Tori. We actually won for parents and caregivers, but it is about the project that I'm going to use as the example for planning a social marketing campaign or social marketing for your organization. And you'll see my subtitle is How I Learned to Take a Breath Before Creating That First Brochure. All too often, people say to us, quick, we need a brochure. And nobody thinks to ask why. And it's the social marketer's job to stop and ask why. So there's a marketing planning process. It starts at the top where you do your research. And I'm going to go through each of these as we continue. Then you establish your goals, which may be similar to what you know as vision. You determine who you need to reach those goals. You look at your objectives, which need to be measurable. You decide what your messages are that you want people to understand. Then you think about your strategies and then get to do the fun stuff like developing the tactics. And then you evaluate, and that kind of feeds back into research, and you start over again. So step one, the research. What you want to know before you begin moving into social marketing is what is the current situation or the baseline. And there are a lot of different ways to find this out. A really expensive way is a public opinion survey, but very few of us have the funds for that. However, you can bring some people together, ask a lot of questions, hear their answers carefully, analyze their answers, and there you have your focus groups. You can do interviews with subject matter experts to see where things stand currently. You can look at articles and other existing information, what's already being done. And then you need to decide based on that, what do you need to change? So then you set your goals. What do you want to change? And your goals are those really broad statements that are more your vision of where you want to be at the end. So in our case, and these are just examples of what we did in our campaign rather than the whole campaign, but one of our goals was that medical first responders and others will use the universal trauma screening tool that was going to be developed by our trauma committee. The second was that all child serving agencies will develop trauma-informed practices to protect the children they serve. As you can see, that's very broad and kind of difficult to measure, actually. But who do we need to reach to make those happen? Well, there are a couple of different types of audiences. One would be your primary audiences. So your parents and caregivers, which might be the where you want your parents and caregivers to understand more about trauma, in this case, and to be able to explain to others. You want your teachers and your key school personnel to be able to respond well to children with trauma. Your first responders, as I mentioned before, you want your behavioral health care providers. Not everyone is up on trauma, not everyone feels that they're trauma experts, but everyone can address trauma. The secondary audiences are the people you get the word out. You need your primary care providers. In the long run, they may be part of your primary audience because you may want them doing the screening, but they also can get the word out to parents about it. You want your news media. you want law enforcement and judiciary. These are people who can guide the others that you want to reach to the information. So what do you want your audiences to hear? These are your messages. These are the messages that we looked at just to give you an idea. Obviously, your messages need to coincide with your goals. So in our case, our messages were that children do not always just get over trauma. Traumatic experiences are fairly common for children. Post-traumatic stress can look like other mental health issues in children. We know it's often mistaken for bipolar. How do we know that? Because we did our research. And every screen for trauma. So those were our key messages with our campaign. And then objectives. These are the really measurable pieces. And it's often hard to figure out a way to measure what you're doing. That's why we try to include our evaluation team when we're developing our plan, because they help us develop a way to measure what we're doing. So for example, in the campaign that we're talking about now, our objectives might be to increase the number of child trauma screenings by 20% within 5 years. May not seem like you have to be realistic. It's very hard to change medical practice, as we all know. We wanted to reach at least 500 first responders, distribute 500 posters, increase awareness by 5% over 2 years, and drive 2,500 people to the website within 1 year. Some of these you have to have a baseline. Some of these are going to be more expensive awareness thing. We're going back to that public attitude survey. So that may not be one of your objectives if it's not something that you can actually measure yourself. And then come the strategies. And this is where you think through what you want to do to get those messages to your audiences to reach your objectives and attain your goals. So some of the types of strategies that we used would be media relations or media placement. So in our case, articles in different publications. Physician relations, we were able to get rounds information out at our children's hospital here. Collateral, and that's just a word that includes all those pieces you print, the posters, the brochures. We did little wallet cards, that type of thing. Other strategies, you might want to have a speakers bureau. Social media is obviously a good place for this, and we do have a Facebook page ourselves. We did some video. That might be a part of what you do. You might actually want to purchase some advertising. With ours, we had the budget. We were able to purchase some billboards at a nonprofit rate, some bus ads, and some movie ads. And then student education might be part of it. What are you going to do in order to make that student education happen? And one of our strategies was development of a web page, which is the one you see here. And if anybody wants to see it, it's recognizedtrauma.org.
Oh.
And now comes the fun part. Now is when the really creative, artistic juices get to flow. And you can see there, it repeats what we talked about in the strategies, but what we're really talking about here is the actual, how are you going to get it done? So when planning, you look at, this is what we're going to do, then you look at how are we going to get it done. And part of that is developing your theme. And you may have some special events. This is kind of the, let's have fun and make things happen. And finally, you evaluate. How does your measure up? So look back at those measurable objectives, which is why you really want them in place. And then use the appropriate methods to determine whether you achieve those objectives. Some of the things you can do for process evaluation is distribution counts, the number of impressions of billboards or newspaper articles. The more outcome-oriented would be actions, and then a public attitude survey. And what that does is take back into your circle, because what you want to do is look at how far you've come, where you are, where you want to be, what do you need to change within your campaign. So that's more of what you want to accomplish, is to keep a living campaign. So you go back and say, this didn't work, so let's try this. And that's really what the evaluation is about, and that's really what the entire process is about. So you look at it all over again. And that's it, Tori. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kay, for your presence. Just a side note, if you were held in on a conference line, if you could please mute your phone to eliminate some of the background noise that we're hearing. Kay also sent over some information that you can see file share. I believe it's on the left-hand side of this. She goes step by step how to go through that social marketing process. And there's a template there as well if you're interested. So you can download that in the file share. Before I turn it over to Liz, we have 2 more poll questions for you. The first one, wondering your age range. And there's a reason for that. We're wondering platform. That's going to be the second question. If you can bear with us right now, go ahead and complete the poll and let us know which age range you're in so we know who the audience is. We'll give you all a couple seconds to complete that. All right, it looks like it's slowing a little bit. Most of the people on this call are between 31 and 30. The second actually, it looks pretty tied between 20 and 30 and 51 and above. Okay, great. Good. I think we can end that poll and move on to the next one. Perfect. Now we're interested to see what forms do you use. Please check all that apply. Facebook is winning right now, followed by Twitter and YouTube seem to be tied as well. All right, so I don't know if those answers to you, but it looks like 31 through 40 seems to be the primary target audience, and most of us are back. Then we have Twitter and YouTube, and Tumblr seems to be, which actually that seems to be something that's been really popular among young people lately. That's something to consider when you're trying to figure out what social media tools are going to be best for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz Moskowitz. Again, she is the Outreach and Online Communications Coordinator for Texans Care for Children here in Austin. We want to go ahead and begin.
Hey everybody, you guys can hear me? I hope. Let me know if you can. Okay, so I work for Texans Care for Children. We are a policy nonprofit in Texas, and we try to be children's advocates to one another and to the state government to try to pass laws that help kids in Texas. And social marketing helps us promote policies and values that benefit Texas kids and our state. So why do we use social marketing? This was a really, making this or doing this presentation was helpful in that it made me sit down and I think about that. So if anything, if you get anything out of this, nice to be able to sit down and kind of think about you know, what we do and why we're doing it. What's the purpose? What do we wish to achieve for our organization? And so for us, the big thing is informing the public on children's advocates about what the government is doing related to kids' issues. We have that we focus on related to children, and we want to keep people informed, and we want them to advocate, and we want to get them involved. And so something is huge way to do that, particularly on because in Austin, but we do things that are statewide, and so for most people, the only touch that we have is online. That's the only presence that we have for them. Really important that our social online is cohesive and effective. So our first social marketing online is our website, which I'm sure most people have with their organizations. And our main purposes here are to provide information, to be an advocacy resource, and to be a values resource too. And through a variety of I'll show you. So we have issue area pages. That one on the values one on the left hand side, juvenile justice. So that's one of the issue areas that we focus on, and we make sure to let people know, kind of what we'd like, an overview of what we'd like to accomplish in Texas for kids to improve the juvenile justice system, and to make sure that kids are being, not just pushed into the justice system. So that kind of enforce our vision and our values and help align people with what we believe and with them as well. We have coalition web pages, and that's where people can get involved we provide contact information for our staff and meeting information, and we also have resources pages, have our reports and toolkits and things like that. And if you see on all of those pages, we have that bar, it says join us, and different social media icons. And we make sure to have all of those icons on most of our pages so that people can instantly connect with us on social media. So I would recommend doing that if you can on your website, having that on the home page, and if you can have it on other pages too, that's great. We also use email to touch people in terms of to reach people that we might not otherwise be able to reach throughout the state. And so we want to share what we've been doing, and we want to share policy updates that pertain to Texas kids, and share new content, share ways to speak out for kids and to advocate, and also provide social media and donating buttons. Here's an example of an email that we send out. We make sure that there's some images in there. There's lots of links that redirect to our website. Email services, we use Emma, and there's also Constant Contact. And so they allow users, organizations like us, to build professional-looking emails and also to track metrics. So you can send out an email. We send out an email to 5,000 people. We can see how many people opened it, how many people clicked on a certain link, how many people share it with, with other people by forwarding the email. So it's a great way to be able to communicate with people and then see where that communication is going. There's also Chimp, I believe, and that's free up until a certain amount of people that you're sending it to.
Oh, shit.
I see a question. I'll just go ahead and answer. How do you get people to send emails? I will. Did I not? I guess I didn't share that, but we have on our homepage on our website, we have a sign-up sheet where someone can just type in their name if they want. They don't even have to type in their name. The only thing that's mandatory is that they type in their email address. And as soon as their email address and click submit, they go into our system, into our system, because and so they'll automatically get our monthly email. And we also have other emails that we send out that are particular to juvenile justice or child protection, and people can sign up for those as well on like our action pages and our issue area pages. So it's great to be able to give people as many opportunities as possible to sign up. So putting those everywhere is, I think, a good good protocol. Giving people as many ways as possible to sign up for email, and as well as to connect with you on social media. So talking about social media, we use social media a lot at my organization, and it's just another way to connect with people that probably otherwise would have no idea who we were, and really know about what we're doing, and so and people's user handle, we're able to connect with elected officials, voters, other organizations, just everyday ordinary consumers who are interested in the issues that we care about, yes, so it's a way to really engage an audience and make sure that we're part of the online dialogue about Texas kids. And so you can see some of the tweets that we've done up on the left-hand side, using lots of user handles, which are people's Twitter names, as well as hashtags. And also we use Hootsuite, which you can see on the top right, and that's really great to be able to use if you want to schedule like 5 to 10 tweets for the day. You can use Hootsuite, and it's a free service. So you can go in, put in all your tweets, schedule them exactly when you go out, and then you don't have to do it throughout the day. So it's very handy. We also use Facebook. I feel like, so I'll just go back real quick. I feel like what I really like about Twitter for us is that we can connect with reporters and we can connect with elected officials. So we can really connect with people who have, who are influencers, who have a lot of followers, who just, who we want to know, like, we care about this issue and this is what we'd like to happen. This is a really great platform to have that conversation with them and to let them know, that we're here and this is the work that we're doing. Facebook, I feel like it's more of a place where it's like a forum for consumers, who are passionate about children's issues, maybe from personal experience or from, someone that they know's own experience. It's a place to like and share on things. So that's how I kind of see them having different roles. And so we share what we're doing, and we create that space so people can voice their opinion, what matters to them. One thing about Facebook too is, I feel post as much as you can. They make it now where they let less and less people your posts because they want you to pay to boost them. It used to not be like that, and it's becoming more and more like that, to the point where Facebook, it's not an actual service, because you can be posting, but if no one's seeing it, it sort of feels like you're just talking, to an empty space. But we've been posting more often. We've been asking more questions, audience, and respond. So I think for a while, I was kind of really angry at Facebook and wanted to just quit. Now, ways that you can engage people without having to put a lot of money into it or at all. Okay, so key takeaways that's a lot of different things. There's social media, there's email, there's website. But it's all about integration. So don't feel like every single that you every piece of the puzzle has to be entirely new content. We reuse and recycle and repurpose over and over again. So one example is, this is a case study about mental well-being in schools. One of our staff members helped pass a law that would improve training and access to mental well-being resources in textbooks, which is, was a really exciting. So we wanted to share that. So we shared it on our website by, we typed up a blog post about it, and we also cross-posted another website. And so we wrote all about, that what had happened and why this was a great achievement for mental health in Texas. We also shared it on, and we used hashtags like mental health, Texas Kids, Texas Ledge. And not to get too into the weeds, but if you use hashtags, people search on hashtags. So when you go on Twitter, you can search, put the hashtag in and put in Texas Kids, and all the tweets that have Texas Kids in it. So this is a great way for people to, let's say someone's interested in mental health and they don't know about Texans Care for Children. They're searching on that and they find us. Suddenly we have a new audience member. We have a new person in our community, in our network. So if you're using Twitter, I highly recommend using hashtags. Just to continue to that, audiences may differ, language and presentation may have to consequently be tweaked, but overall content and messaging remains consistent. So continuing with that same case study, we talked about it in our email, talked about it on Facebook, and all these different just to reinforce and let people know this bill was passed. It's going to benefit kids. It's going to be, it's going to make schools more effective at addressing mental health, and all these different places that you can do it. And you're just using the same information and just repeating it. Okay, another takeaway is visuals are key. We live in a world now where people's attention spans short and they are just being bombarded with a ton of information, much more than before. So people are often just glancing at things. And so they'll look longer at an image than they will at just text. So anytime that you can use images, whether it be staff photos, and I say staff photos because people like knowing who's behind a blog, who's behind an op-ed. So you can put a face to the words. People really appreciate that personal touch. You can put images with text, quotes. If you have a from a blog post that you really like, drop it in like the one over here, and it'll stand out more, it'll pop. In kids photos, we use a lot of kid photos just because, we're a kids advocacy nonprofit, but they're really effective. And I put on the slide, PicMonkey.com is a free online resource that lets you put text on pictures. So you don't have to be someone who knows a lot about Photoshop or a lot about images. You can use Monkey, and they make it really, really easy to be able to put the text on pictures. And as you can see too, we also try to put our logo and site on our images, just because they, we have branding, and we want that branding to be seen as possible. On the left, be personal is another key takeaway. People respond better to email blasts, to tweets and blog posts when it's written by a real person. So the content can also be personal, first person account of an experience. So in our example, we had a staff member visit a juvenile correctional facility, and so she blogged about it, and it was one of our most popular blogs. It was first person. She talked about the tour and about the people she talked to while she was there. Also tracking metrics. is really, really important. So you're creating all this content, and then what's effective? What's more effective? You know, to tweet a question or to tweet a quote. And so using, or on Facebook, you know, to share a photo or to, you know, to ask a question. All these are really great things to ask yourself to know, you know, what does my audience want? Am I providing that for them? And what can I do better the next time around? So there are a lot of metrics that you can use online. Facebook has something called Insights. There's also Google Analytics for your website, and email metrics if you use an email program like Emma, MailChimp, or Constant Contact. And you can see things like how many people view a web page, how many people clicked on an email, who's sharing, who's retweeting. These are great to be able to monitor. And that's all. That's a lot of information, I know. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to email me or to put them in the chat to the right. And thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Liz. That was wonderful. I want to point out that both Kay and Liz had a lot of consistency in terms of messaging, target audience, ways to track metrics and evaluation. Those are really key factors in creating an efficient and strategic marketing plan. I'm going to go into another people can use. It's something that I get excited about. It creates buzz, and the best part about it is that it's really low cost and one can do it. It's called Guerrilla marketing. This is a marketing that a lot of agencies use to go viral. And going viral means something that picks up on the web and is shared many times. So guerrilla marketing is a low-cost, unconventional way to draw attention to an idea, product, or service. It relies more on creativity than funding. That's always a great thing. A huge budget or lots of resources available. Engaging and provoking. I have a couple examples, but one of the ones that sticks out the most to me, there was a bus stop, and people sat on it, their weight came up. They sat on the bench, it came up, and it said it had a chart with their height and then their weight, and it said whether they were in a healthy range, an unhealthy BMI range, or under or overweight. That really created a lot of buzz, and it was something that didn't cost a whole lot of money, but it made a huge impact, and something like that was way engaging than an article in a magazine or an op-ed about what you should do with your weight. You know, it's the guerrilla marketing is. But here are a couple of examples that relate a little bit more to the we do. So, if you look on the left-hand side, you see a child in a grocery cart, a photo of a child in a grocery cart. Someone putting a can into the. This was during a canned food drive at a grocery store. You go up to her and you may see that in a canned food drive, you donate 50 cents or something like that. It's really easy to say no to here. It's really easy to say, oh, I already did, I don't need to do it again. When you're pushing your cart through the store and you're buying food for yourself and your family, and you see a hungry child, how much more likely are you to throw in a couple extra cans to donate? It's way more impactful. If you look on the right-hand side, you see a parking spot on a tree, and it says reserved for drunk drivers. That is really, really engaging. You're driving down the road and you see a billboard. We're used to seeing those. You're driving down the road and you see a parking spot that says reserved for drunk drivers. That kind of shakes you a little bit. It makes you realize how close something like that could actually be to you. It's scary. That didn't really cost a lot. That's, again, something that you got the city permission and you got a can of paint. It's low cost, it's efficient, it's very unconventional, and it's something that was really creative, and just the media that follows something like that is worth whatever minimal expenses you've spent on getting the supplies. I'll show you an example of some of the guerrilla marketing that we did around Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. So this past year for Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, our campaign was Stand Up and Soar for Children's Mental Health. We based it on, well, part of the thought process that went into it was Brandon Marshall. He is an NFL player for the Chicago Bears. He has gone through multiple borderline personality disorder. It was something that had touched him for many years, and he felt like he should raise awareness for the cause. He wore green shoes during a football game, during an game. You know, often we see football players wearing shoes for breast cancer. He wore green shoes, and he was fined $13,000 wearing those shoes. That national headlines, it put that topic to the national spotlight, into mainstream, which is something that could be very beneficial at times. Well, because he wore the green shoes, we decided to do a walk from the Capitol Park here in Austin, wearing green shoes. A lot of communities replicated the idea. It went wonderfully. Monica can get that later when she goes through her section, but they did a wonderful walk in Bear as well. Use the green shoe theme. But, I'm sorry, not in the lower Rio Grande Valley region. I'm sorry. Texas and figuring. But, yeah, they did a walk in all. But it's 1 mile from the Capitol to a park here in Austin. Everyone wore green shoes. So as part of our internet guerrilla marketing campaign, and we asked that everybody share what we called shoes on our Facebook page. It's a lot easier than asking people photos of their faces. People don't always want to do that. But sharing the shoes, that's pretty easy. So we had people sharing pictures of their green shoes on our Facebook page, and it was called Stand Up to Stigma. We had people, one of the stories that came out of that was people at Payless were asking others to try on green shoes for our campaign. So it's just a way to get the conversation going with people that you otherwise may not have talked to. Someone was at Goodwill asking people to take photos of green shoes as well. It was just an engaging way to do something fun. Still, it was part of a message. And if you have any questions about guerrilla marketing or anything else that we've discussed, please feel free to include it in that chat box, and we'll reserve some time at the end for questions. We have another poll question. This is our final poll question before we go into Monica's section. Now that you know a little bit about some of the tools you are using, what social marketing tactics is your community or organization using to reach your target? You can please choose all. So we're still doing results, but it looks like print material seems to be one of the main tactics, and then social media is next. Just if you want to include in the chat a curiosity for me, organization, which platform y'all use, and I'm guessing it may be Facebook, but if y'all don't mind just putting in the chat box, I'll get a feel for that. Online communications. All right, great. So there's a lot of media interviews as well, and that we can discuss further during questions. We do a lot of media training work, but it looks like print materials and brochures are the highest, social media, online communications, media interviews, and then paid advertising spots. All right, great. So I'm going to turn it over to Monica. She is the Special Projects Director for the Tropical Texas Behavioral, which is in the Lower Rio Valley, not there. So Monica, thank you. And all right.
Well, thank you for joining us on our webinar today. So how did engagement begin at Tropical Texas Behavioral Health when it involved social marketing? How did Tropical Texas Behavioral Health engage our community? Well, that's a lot of networking in our community. And how did that happen? A lot of legwork from staff, from management, from myself. We went out and communicated our need for awareness in the community and why children's mental health was so important to Tropical Texas Behavioral Health, why we felt our community needed to know about it. Our youth and family teams at each site location send out emails to celebrate children's mental health across Edinburgh, Weslaco, Harlingen, and Brownsville. Spreading the word within our school systems was also important. And we requested they e-blast Children's Mental Health Awareness Week on their marquees. This also helped raise awareness and have our school officials celebrate children's mental health. Getting our community excited about celebrating children's mental health was important to us and our staff. Tropical Texas Behavioral Health created a contest among our agencies across all sites to encourage creative ways to celebrate and what that looked like in our community. Our director and our managers supported this excitement and actually participated in several events across all sites. What does social media and social marketing look like when you don't have a specific department attributing to this effort? Well, getting our staff really on board with celebrating and getting the word out not only to our community members, but our families and youth. Getting our youth and families involved in spreading awareness in our community by going to the local fire stations, by going to the local police departments. We actually had an event at each fire station and police station where our firefighters were flying green kites outside of their station during the week. This was a big deal in our community. People knew why we were doing it. Our firefighters were excited about the event, and we were able to incorporate families and youth in celebrating across the entire week. Tropical Texas Behavioral Health also promoted children's mental health throughout each community across each county. This was a challenge because our counties spread across 100 miles. From my doorstep to our site in Brownsville is roughly 70 miles. So what did this look like in each community? Well, it actually looked very different. How we linked them all up together to match is we incorporated Chili's. We partnered up with Chili's across Hidalgo, Willacy, and Cameron counties, and we spread awareness. We gave away door prizes. Chili's donated a portion of its earnings throughout that week to children's mental health awareness, and we were in turn able to buy supplies for our kids. We were able to celebrate. We actually gave away coloring books and flyers. We gave away little gift bags as door prizes, green wristbands that celebrated children's mental health. So by incorporating that community partnership and creating those partnerships throughout our communities, we were able to strengthen our movement throughout the week. It extended past the week, and we were able to run. It was roughly 14 days that we were celebrating. We actually leveraged off, and we said we were going to leverage off children's mental health on an entire agency celebrate. So staff from Brownsville, Harlingen, Weslaco, and Edinburgh all came to one community event, and we celebrated children's mental health by wearing green shoelaces, wearing green t-shirts. We made sure that we had our ribbons on. As you can see, we have a picture of us in front of Chili's when we did our Chili's celebration. Harlingen actually had a whole spread, like children's mental health awareness spread, and they were giving away ribbons to our family members. Getting the community involved, that was very important. We had posters. Every lobby in our agency had children's mental health awareness banners. We flew green kites at each site. We had the green kite logo with the blue and the green colors blasted at each site. Anytime we sent out e-blast to any other staff members or any of our community stakeholders, we had that logo. We actually created coloring books and flyers in lieu of the event so that we could have things that were tangible that our kids could color on, that our kids could take home with them. These are pictures of our promotion for our spring fling, and as you can see, it was lime green. We also had lime green tennis shoes and lime green shoelaces. So leveraging off of an existing event benefited our whole entire week. We kind of led up to it. Here, again, our staff were excited, and they in turn went and celebrated with their families and youth. Pictures of our coloring books and what they look like. Having this ready, and in order to prepare it for Children's Mental Health Awareness Week, we actually met on a monthly basis for at least 6 months prior in order to make sure that we had all of our things printed, make sure that everything was in order. So it does take a little bit of planning, and in order to really do a lot of legwork, you do need to plan, because I think without it, we wouldn't have been as successful as we were. Here are some more pictures, and you know, this year it was Stand Up and Soar, so we were able to do t-shirts, and we gave away our green ribbons. This was a picture of us when we were celebrating in Harlingen, and actually a lot of our families received prizes such as t-shirts and ribbons. So what does this mean in the future? What did we learn from our prior experience with Children's Mental Health Awareness, social and media marketing? What we have planned for the future is we want to do a 5K and partner up with the Runner Die Association to promote awareness. Typically in the Runner Die event, it's multicolor die thrown up in the air to celebrate the run. So our proposition was to only have green dye in celebration of Children's Mental Health Awareness. And so working closely with that organization in order to have a end of the week event, which it would be on a Saturday, and we would do a Runner Die event, 5K run in Harlingen. So bringing the Brownsville folks to Harlingen and bringing the Edinburgh folks to Harlingen. So really picking a central location so it's very convenient to all sites, and community members are able to attend as well. Contacting state representatives, this was something that was on our to-do list so that we could have someone speak at a community event to raise awareness and the importance of making children's mental health a priority and really getting it to the front line and saying this is why it's important. We always work with school districts and community members, juvenile justice, child protective services, and inviting those people to celebrate with us and is really important. Our agency values its community members, and I think together we when you organize something and you bring all of your community members to the table at one time, it's very powerful, and it can be a very, very successful event to not only raise awareness, but from these specific community events, you can have action events that happen and that follow. One of the questions was, well, if it's just about awareness, what happens after? And that's a very good question, because from all of these exciting events that are happening and the awareness that you're bringing, people are going to ask, what are you going to do next? So what are the action steps that follow this great event? Well, we work very closely with our school districts, and it runs over. Children's mental health really gets a lot of attention, and it gets addressed by our educators. And so maybe that can be something that is an action item after your community event. So it's not all about awareness, really branching out and seeing what other important issues are out there that involve children's mental health. Broadcasting on local radio stations was something else that we wanted to do. Having those templates and for broadcasting, we do have a lot of local radio stations that we can partner up with, and that's something that we really want to do for the future. So if anybody has any questions, email me. Not everybody has a whole department or a whole bunch of budget to dip into these things, but these things are very doable in our community, and it's just a matter of getting the word out. And how are you going to do that effectively and efficiently?
Handled it very well, and I apologize for that. But you did well, and I think that one of the things that we're going to move into, but actually, do have a question for Monica that I think would be helpful for our audience as well. The 5K run, that is a fun to engage youth in the community. How did you set that process up? Were you in contact with officials? Did you have to get city permissions? I'd be interested to know, so if other people want to do it, they can replicate that.
Well, because it's specifically with run or die. So those you have to really put yourself in with the put on run or die. Now, I've also heard of other types of run 5K types of deal where you can definitely about children's mental health. The 5K run, organize it amongst your agency. I'm assuming that you could probably go out and get the it's like the type of that doesn't do anything bad to the environment. Road, or whether it can be in the grass, but I feel like it's a very doable event. It just takes a little bit of legwork and wanting to do it.
Wonderful. Candace just suggested maybe blue, so see what we'll do there. We had a K come up during the presentation. It was, please provide a synopsis overview of the key points and recommendations during your presentation.
Well, if you would like, the sample plan has examples of what I talked about, and of course the PowerPoint is down. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for. You're welcome to email me. I'll be happy anything I can. But beyond that, I'm just not sure what I want. If it's just like assist or email, or if you could comment there, that would be great.
Great, thank you. We also had a question come in about MailChimp. That's one that we use. System of Care has a bi-e newsletter. It goes out every 2 weeks on Tuesday at 10 a.m. We try to keep it consistent. The premise sending it at the same time every week, every couple of weeks, whether that's working for us, what links tend to work best at those hours. And what MailChimp is, it is a online service that you can use. You can compile whatever information that you want to, that's relevant to your audience. You put it into this online, it's almost like an online Word doc that you can put everything in. There's emails that you can enter. So all you have to do after you upload the content is click send or schedule it for whenever you're ready. And it's a great service because you don't need a lot of computer expertise. You don't need to know any sort of coding. You can just type like you're typing in a Word doc, and you can see what it looks like as you're typing and what it's going to look like in the email. It cleans up email addresses for you if there's bounce backs. It tracks what links are getting clicked, what your open rate is. We started with, we have about 700 subscribers on our e-blast right now, and it's growing. So if you are interested in being a part of that, you can find that site that's listed in that at txsystemofcare.org. And I know Liz talked about they use Emma, I think. I'm not super familiar with Emma, but if you have questions on that for Liz, her email is listed there as well. Are there any other questions or anything else that we can recap or go over? We're going to finish up a little early today, I think, so we have plenty of time for questions.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Hi, it's Kay. I just wanted to add that we use constant contact in our organization, and it does take time to build those lists. We use primarily internally for providers. We have like a list of about 700 people. We sent out an email last night, maybe around 9 o'clock, telling people that we have an upcoming event. This morning we had 200 people in it, and 50 had already made reservations. So it can be very effective as you build credibility for it.
That's wonderful. Okay. We did, and if you have any questions about constant contact, I've tried it before. I think it is a little, I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it may be a little more, so if you have questions on that, Kay's email is right there. We had another through from Alejandra. Do any of your, where did it go? Do any of your social marketing campaigns have a stakeholders committee that provides input into your campaigns? Would you share your experience engaging stakeholders for this purpose? So I'll start off, and then if everyone else wants to jump in. So what we're doing this year, Mental Health Awareness Day, is inviting anyone who's interested to be a committee to work towards something the community can support. Last something similar, we had parents events to paint your shoes green and make kites. So it's a fun way to get in touch with people. Maybe I don't really interact with them that often, so it's an awesome way for me to get that family voice, and it's an awesome way for me to hear some more community engagement.
This is Kay. We've used a communications committee, and at times we've been able to get our public relations, social marketing people from the community to come in. And when you are the primary social marketer, it's really nice to have a group to bounce ideas off of, to brainstorm with, get other ideas, because you become limited when you're trying to brainstorm by yourself.
We just recently engaged a student from UT as well. We're working on an animated video. It's going to be an online campaign, but it's an overview of what system of care is. The target is people who, it's not for our stakeholders, it's for parents and families who may be unfamiliar with care and what the benefits are. And we worked with a student from UT. He's 19 years old, and he created this awesome video for us, and it was great for his portfolio, but it was also something that worked well for the both of us. Low cost, use your resources. If there's schools nearby, think about having interns, social marketing interns, who can handle the social side of what you're doing. They can come in one day a week and use Hootsuite or TweetDeck to schedule those things out. Do we have any other questions? I see a couple people are typing, so I don't want to cut off.
Like one other thing just to include with that question, yeah, definitely with like interns, volunteer well. Really thought about using volunteers until recently, and we have someone now who's helping us with our website, which is really helpful. And so it's what's helpful about interns and volunteers to look at a social marketing campaign or just your creations as a whole is you're so entrenched and immersed in it that you lose that outside perspective. So it's really great now and then to someone new, like a new fresh set of eyes, look at what you're doing and let you know, can you tell what our mission is? Can you tell what we do by just looking at our homepage on our website for 3 seconds? Is it easy to find this resource? And so being able to use volunteers and interns for that is really helpful because it allows you to look at things differently.
Thank you, Liz. We had a question from Judy that Monica, go over your answer. I see you responding in the chat box, but Judy asked, once awareness is raised through these great campaigns, what type of behavior, change, or action are you asking for? Thank you, Monica. I know, do y'all have anything else to add to that? I know that y'all do a lot of work around that as well. Oh, well. All right, if y'all have further questions, please send us an email. All of our emails are listed there below. Feel free to tweet at us, write on our Facebook page, sign up for our newsletters. There's a lot of great content out there, and we'll be hearing from y'all soon. Turn it over to Robert.
Wow, thank y'all so much. Such a great webinar, and I hope you learned as much as I personally did. Once y'all click out of this room, you'll be prompted to take a survey. Please complete that survey. In order to get your CEU certificate, you'll need to complete that survey. So once you leave the room, it will automatically pop up. So please make sure to complete the survey, especially if you're needing your CEU certificate. Once again, all the PowerPoint slides and handouts can be downloaded to your computer from the file share pod, which is now on the right side of your screen, the lower bottom hand right there, the file share. So you can download all the documents from today's presentation. On behalf of the Texas System of Care team, I would like to thank the presenters. They did such a great job. Thank you so much. And then on behalf of the presenters today and the Texas System of Care, I would like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar. And also, please feel free to share us with your friends and family by following us on Facebook at facebook.com/TX System of Care, and also visit our website. This webinar is recorded and will be posted on our website in a couple of weeks, along with a bunch of other archived webinars. Thank y'all so much and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.